Okay, our coverage of the Consumer Electronics Show has been continuing all week, and it continues further now. Okay, welcome to Digits. I'm Simon Constable. Our CES coverage continues, and we've got Sherr of the Wall Street Journal out in San Francisco to tell us what were the highlights this year. No, sorry, he's in Las Vegas. There he is. Ian, tell us some of those highlights. Let's start with Audi that does something very special.
Yeah, so Audi, along with a number of car companies, started showing off their autonomous technology, which is really cool. It's kind of like we're entering the age of the Jetsons now, although they're not flying yet. And Audi specifically showed us a car that can park itself. Literally, it goes into the garage, it figures out which space it wants to go into, and then it backs into it, which is really cool. And it uses, the best part about it is that it uses technology that's on the street today. Most of the technology that they use, the sonar, the LiDAR, the radar, the cameras, all that stuff is not only commoditized, but it's available for cars today, and it's in a lot of them. So they said, this is still 10 years out, but the fact is that, most of the technology exists in our cars today. It's just getting the processes refined and getting the stuff working, which is really neat.
That is really neat. 10 years seems an awful lot of time, though, but I might even get one of those. Not the Audi, but one that parks itself, just a cheaper version. Okay, so what about ultra high definition TVs? They've been a standout, right?
Yeah, they really have. Basically, it's 4 times the number of pixels that are in a standard 1080p TV. So your HD TV you have now is now 1/4 as awesome as what you can have. And essentially what it is that they, the whole idea is that they're getting super, super high definition. If you think about it, your phone, some of the phones that you guys, that everybody carries around have what we call a retina display, which means that it has so many pixels and the little images are crammed so far together that you can't actually tell the difference where the pixels are. And you can't see those little squares. And that's where they're trying to get with TVs. They're really expensive right now. I think one of them is somewhere around $25,000. But eventually, it'll all get lower price, and it'll start becoming a common thing.
That's interesting, because I know the TV business has had quite a tough time of it. So that's been a bit of a buzz out at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So that's great. You've also got flexible screens.
Right. So Samsung showed off a flexible screen. They'd shown it off last year, but this year what they did is they actually integrated it into a smartphone. And what they wanted to do is show us some use cases. So, it's kind of cool to see a screen that you can just kind of bend like a piece of paper. But the real use cases, they say, are stuff where the screen actually bend, it kind of goes off the side of your phone a little bit. So if you imagine if your phone's on the facing down on your table, you can still look at its side and get like a little text message or something. So that you kind of get a sense of what's going on. And that's what they say is the real most promising application of it, is this idea that, we can start kind of not having to always look at the face of the screen. We can start kind of using it in different ways. And then there's also the really neat stuff like putting screens on lampposts.
Screens on lampposts? So
yeah,
lampposts
that's a possibility.
Anymore.
I mean, when you have a flexible display, you can do anything with it, right? And so that's one of the things that you can start doing, is you can start putting it on side, the edges of buildings. I mean, there are all sorts of things they can do. Like I said, Samsung, for the most part, sees a lot of opportunity with the smartphones and kind of edging out, if you will, and changing the way that the smartphone is designed. Because right now it's just a piece of flat glass on a flat brick, and so they want to kind of change that a little bit. And it has a lot of promise. This stuff is still way far out. This is all tech demo still, but it's pretty promising.
I do like that. So overall, what was a feeling there this year? I mean, you're there, you're in the thick of it. What's the buzz like?
Well, a lot of people, those are the things that got a lot of attention. There were a couple others, but for the most part, there's still this kind of concern that the show is starting to lose its edge, if you will. Microsoft pulled out of the show last year. They said that would be their last keynote. The keynote wasn't even that spectacular. And what happened was that ever since then, there's been this concern about, is it still relevant? Now, of course, the Consumer Electronics Show is not just all about what I get to go to and see. There's a lot of partner meetings and customer meetings and all sorts of other meetings that you and I never see, but the fruits of which happen throughout the year. And more product ends up in different stores and stuff, and that still goes on. But there's definitely a concern from the press and the vibe and the whole kind of hype point of view that this is starting to lose a lot of its edge. And it's troublesome because that's part of what draws especially the normal crowds to the show.
Okay, well, maybe they can get their mojo back next year. Thank you very much, Ian Sherr of the Wall Street Journal. We appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
Okay, Ian Sherr there in Las Vegas.